Welcome back to Respoiled. Today, I have another captivating story to share with you. But before we dive in, if you're new here, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications, so you'll never miss out on all of my latest uploads. Now let's get started. In the kingdom of Longtrellis, the king and queen observe a circus troupe's performance, though the queen appears disinterested. Suddenly, one performer reveals her pregnancy, prompting the queen to flee to her chambers in tears due to her own infertility. The king follows, apologizing and explaining he was unaware of the performer's condition. Later, a necromancer offers a solution to the royal couple, cautioning that for life to be bestowed, someone else must perish to maintain equilibrium. The queen, desperate for a child, agrees to the necromancer's terms. They must slay a sea monster in the lake and extract its heart, which must then be boiled by a chaste girl in privacy. Consuming the heart will ensure her immediate conception. At the lake, the king dons a diving suit and descends, discovering a massive white creature asleep. He cautiously approaches and stabs it with a spear, provoking the creature to thrash wildly. In the ensuing chaos, the king sustains a mortal wound from the monster's tail. Moments later, both bodies are recovered from the lake, but the queen disregards her deceased husband, focusing solely on obtaining the beast's heart, which the guards retrieve for her. Back at the castle, they select a pure servant from the staff and leave her alone with the heart. Upon dropping it into boiling water, she recoils with a gasp, sensing a strange sensation in her abdomen. She is magically impregnated. Later, the queen consumes the cooked heart without hesitation, promptly conceiving a child. That evening, both women give birth simultaneously to a pair of robust boys. Following the king's grand funeral, the queen's attention is solely fixed on her son, showing little concern for anything else. 16 years pass, and the queen's son, Elias, blossoms into a spirited teenager distinguished by his unique white hair. Constantly under his mother's watchful gaze, Elias often evades her overbearing presence by navigating the castle labyrinth until even the queen herself becomes lost. Elias frequently rendezvous with Johann, the servant's son, who bears a striking resemblance to him. The boys share an inexplicable bond, akin to twins born of the lake creature. Drawn to each other, they delight in each other's company, particularly relishing their time swimming in the lake, where they can linger beneath the surface for extended periods. Despite their efforts to evade detection, the castle guards inevitably discover Elias and Johann, forcibly separating them. Unhappy with her son's association with a commoner, the queen summons Johann's mother, threatening banishment if the boys are caught together again. Elias, upon learning of this, pleads with his mother not to harm Johann or his family, asserting that Johann is akin to a brother to him. However, this only infuriates the queen further, leading her to forbid Elias from associating with Johann ever again. Defying his mother's orders, Elias continues to clandestinely meet with Johann. One day, as Elias passes by, the queen beckons him over to pose a question. During their conversation, she detects an unusual scent emanating from the boy. After his departure, she clandestinely trails him to Elias' chamber, where she realizes she had conversed with Johann. Delighted by the realization that others cannot distinguish between them, the boys joyfully contemplate their future, envisioning joint rule over the kingdom. Johann even entertains the idea of bestowing a noble title upon his mother and granting her a castle of her own. Their discussion is abruptly halted by a knock at the door, prompting Johann to swiftly conceal himself as Elias invites the queen inside. The jealous queen emphasizes to her son that no one will ever love him as she does, clearly reluctant to share his affection with anyone else. After her departure, Elias reveals a secret passage to Johann, leading back to town through the slaughterhouse. While traversing it, Johann is suddenly struck from behind and realizes the queen lay in wait to kill him. Despite a struggle as Johann evades her assaults, he fortunately eludes capture by concealing himself among the meat. This encounter prompts Johann to recognize his lack of safety in the city, leading him to depart to safeguard his family from harm. From the castle, Elias observes Johann departing and hurries out to detain him, but Johann declines to stay. However, he empathizes with Elias's concerns and leaves him a comforting token. By piercing the trunk of an ancient tree, water gushes forth, and Johann instructs Elias to visit the brook daily. Clear water signifies safety, while murky water warns of danger. Following Johann's departure, Elias diligently monitors the water's clarity, ensuring other children do not contaminate it. One afternoon, Elias is dismayed to find the water turned bloody red, prompting him to swiftly mount a horse and search for his friend. Upon hearing of his escape, the queen swiftly assembles a search party to scour the woods, yet Elias remains elusive. Days later, Elias arrives in a small town where residents mistake him for Johann, who had vanished a few days prior while venturing into the woods. Concurrently, the necromancer reappears before the queen, proposing a bargain: her sons return in exchange for a sacrifice, a proposition the queen readily accepts without inquiry. Meanwhile, Elias wanders through the forest in pursuit of Johann, unaware that Johann is stranded below a cliff. Several days prior, Johann stumbled, injuring his leg, leaving him stranded. Though he responds to Elias's calls, Elias remains oblivious to Johann's attempts. Instead, Johann attracts the attention of a fearsome monster, which menacingly advances towards him. Fearing for his life, Johann limps towards a nearby cave entrance, but the monster exacerbates his injury. Just as the situation appears dire, Elias arrives, causing the monster to halt. Seizing the opportunity, Elias swiftly dispatches the creature with his knife. Subsequently, Elias assists Johann out of the cave, leading him to a fresh start in the nearby town. Meanwhile, the creature undergoes a transformation, revealing itself to be the queen. Concurrently, in the kingdom of Strongcliff, the king is renowned for his amorous exploits. Surrounded by a retinue of women who cater to his every whim, he remains unfulfilled in his quest to find a suitable queen. One day, he is enchanted by the melodious voice of a peasant woman singing a captivating tune. Peering out of his window, he catches sight of her in the distance, but she retreats into her abode upon his summons. Intrigued by the mystery, the king dispatches a messenger bearing a precious necklace as a token of his admiration. When the messenger arrives, a bucket is passed through the window for him to leave the gift because the woman won't leave her house. After he's gone, it's revealed that the woman is Dora, living with her sister Ima. They're both elderly and unattractive, so they avoid venturing outside. Surprised by the necklace, Ima suggests returning it, but Dora insists on keeping it, finding it flattering. Later that evening, the king arrives at their door seeking the woman with the beautiful voice, using persuasive words and promises of reward to entice her into his company. Ima suggests sending him away, but Dora is eager for a chance at a better life. However, she's still self-conscious about her appearance and tells the king to return in a week to see her finger. Despite his desperation, the king agrees to the delay. Over the week, Dora attempts various remedies to improve her finger's appearance, but they only make it worse. When the king returns, Dora becomes anxious and compares her finger to Ima's, noticing that Ima's is smoother due to her habit of sucking on it. She pulls her sister to the door, showing her finger to the king through the lock. He kisses it and asks for more. Dora agrees to give him more under one condition: she'll visit him at night in the castle, but he must wait without any candles lit. The king, desperate, agrees and orders the candles extinguished. Meanwhile, Dora has Ima conceal her wrinkles by gluing them back and pushing them behind her back to appear younger in the darkness. Dora enters the castle and quickly settles under the blankets on the bed to conceal her appearance. The king joins her, and they engage in intimate activities for a few hours. Later, after Dora falls asleep, the king lights a candle to examine her and is shocked to discover her true appearance. He accuses her of deception, labeling her a witch, and summons the guards, who promptly toss Dora out of the window. Fortunately, the blankets she's wrapped in snag on a tree branch, preventing her from hitting the ground. At that moment, a wandering witch discovers Dora hanging from the tree and assists her down, chuckling at the sight. Observing Dora's melancholy, the witch offers her solace by nursing her. After the witch departs, Dora's body undergoes a remarkable transformation. Her skin smooths, and her hair lengthens and turns red. She emerges as a stunning young woman. Dumbfounded by her new appearance, Dora encounters the king and his entourage venturing into the woods for a boar hunt. However, the king becomes entranced upon seeing Dora, instantly falling in love with her. Later, a castle servant delivers an exquisite attire and an invitation to the royal wedding to Ima's house. It turns out Dora is marrying the king and desires her sister's presence at the wedding. Dora dons the dress and heads to the castle, feeling somewhat out of place but delighting in the food. Spotting Ima, she ushers her into another room and divulges the events, assuring Ima of a brighter future as queen. After the festivities end, Ima hesitates to depart, feeling desolate without her sister. Sneaking into the royal chambers, she implores Dora to let her stay, but Dora declines, citing the obvious age gap that would make their sibling relationship unbelievable. Ima, desperate to learn Dora's secret to beauty, is told by Dora that she was flayed, hoping to silence her. Upon hearing the king approaching, Dora conceals Ima behind a screen before attending to her husband. Despite her curiosity, Ima cannot resist peeking at the couple, but the king mistakes her for the old lady and has the guards expel her. Distressed, Ima seeks out the blacksmith and requests a favor. She wishes for all her wrinkles to be removed so she can also be beautiful. Initially, the blacksmith refuses Ima's request, but upon receiving all the jewels from her fancy outfit as payment, he changes his mind. Shortly after, Ima is bound to a tree in the forest, and the blacksmith begins to flay her while she screams in pain. When Ima reappears in town, she is a disfigured, bleeding figure nearing death. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of High Hills, Princess Violet sings a special song for her father, the king, who pays no heed as he is preoccupied with a flea on his arm. The tiny insect starts hopping all over the king's body, amusing him so much that he watches it intently until he catches it. Once Violet finishes her song, the king brings the flea to his chambers, deciding to keep it as a pet. He arranges a cozy box for it to sleep in and pricks his finger to feed it his blood. As the flea grows larger, the king teaches it tricks, like pulling a miniature carriage. This newfound obsession leads him to neglect his royal responsibilities. Over the weeks, the king even takes the royal dinner to his chamber, where the flea has ballooned to the size of a pig. One evening, the king calls for the court doctor to tend to his chambers where the oversized flea, now the size of a horse, is ailing. The doctor, alarmed, complies and delivers grim news: the flea has passed away. The king embraces his cherished pet and enjoins the doctor to maintain secrecy. Later, the king reveals his solution for finding Violet a suitor by displaying the flea's skin in the throne room. He announces that whoever correctly identifies the creature may marry his daughter. Despite Violet's objections, preferring to choose a partner based on character, the king persists in disregarding her preferences. One by one, men attempt to guess the origin of the enormous skin in the throne room, but none can fathom it belonged to a bug. Suddenly, a wild ogre arrives and, guided by his keen sense of smell, correctly identifies it as flea skin. The revelation shocks everyone, compelling the king to honor his promise, much to Violet's dismay. Tearfully, she flees to the rooftop, contemplating self-deletion. The king persuades her to descend, emphasizing the importance of upholding their reputation and her obedience. Reluctantly, Violet accompanies the ogre, embarking on a long journey to his home. Violet becomes weary in the forest, prompting the ogre to carry her the remainder of the journey. Atop a cliff, she finds their destination, a grim cave strewn with human remains. Violet attempts to evade the ogre and his repulsive meals, but he grows impatient, coercing her into his bed. Days elapse, leaving Violet grimy and despondent. One morning, she spots a woman across the chasm gathering herbs. Though unable to assist immediately, the woman pledges to return with help. Later, the woman returns with her entire circus artist family. A performer throws a rope across the gap between cliffs and skillfully walks on it to reach Violet, carrying her back along the rope. As they traverse, the ogre returns and gives chase, using his hands to move along the rope. The acrobat hastens, successfully reaching the opposite side with Violet before the family severs the rope, causing the ogre to plummet. Subsequently, the family escorts Violet away in their carriage, where she finds joy once more watching their performances. The ogre, having survived, reappears and assaults the circus family in the carriage, claiming 3 lives instantly. In terror, Violet grabs a knife and flees with the others. Enraged, the ogre resumes pursuit, prompting the group to seek shelter. As he closes in using his acute sense of smell, one of the performers consumes alcohol and exhales flames at the ogre's face. However, this fails to deter him, and he resumes his attack, swiftly dispatching the remaining family members. Alone and vulnerable, Violet attempts to flee, but the ogre easily locates her. To avoid being slain, she feigns acceptance and placates him, then climbs onto his back to return home. She swiftly employs the knife to cut his throat upon movement. Back at the castle, the king, feeling ill since his daughter's departure, springs out of bed upon hearing of her return. The throne room occupants are astonished to witness Violet carrying the ogre's head, and they all bow before her authority, including the remorseful king, who apologizes for not heeding her earlier. In due course, Violet is crowned Queen of High Hills. Elias, the sole surviving royal of Longtrellis, attends the coronation as their representative. The king of Strongcliff accompanies Dora to the ceremony, where she suddenly realizes something strange: her skin is reverting to its former state. In a panic, she flees from the event. Violet, preoccupied with watching an acrobat traverse a fiery rope in honor of the family that rescued her, doesn't notice Dora's departure. Don't forget to like, subscribe and enable notifications for more content like this. Thank you for watching.